There has been something bothering me about the day-to-day minutiae of Wuthering Waves ever since the beginning of this year. It's been somewhat of a problem for a while, but didn't start to get this cumbersome until only recently, I feel. Amidst all the growing praise and appreciation the game has been receiving, including from myself, I literally made a video on the whole thing. In the interest of carrying the mindset that there's always something you can improve on, we're gonna play good cop, bad cop. I made a video glazing Kuro, now I'm gonna make a video complaining about something. That something is... For what it's worth, Kuro's been doing a bang-up job on making the ecosystem as unintrusive as possible. The data merge system lets you throw your fodder echoes away for a new one with up to 10 from a set of your choice per week. You can alter the main stat of the echo using modifiers, and you can even use a transducer to reroll a substat on an already tuned echo. Echoes are free to farm limitlessly to an extent, and while I will be complaining about this in a bit, the auto-discard feature is a godsend for eliminating junk echoes. The list goes on. Despite all of that, there's been a growing issue that hasn't been addressed, and it's also an issue that will continue to get worse if nothing's done about it. That is the overall clutter of the ecosystem in its entirety. For today, we're going to be discussing this problem, how it can get worse, and what are some possible avenues to handle it before it becomes untenable. Wua's ecosystem is like most other mainstream gacha-based equipment systems, identical to Genshin's Artifact, HSR's Relic, and ZZZ's Drive Disc system. A framework of items by which you can give to characters to increase their stats and combat capabilities. By feeding experience into them, you can raise their main stat and gain access to a variety of substats, all of which come entirely at random. This gameplay loop is intended to, for better or worse, give the player something to do on a day-to-day basis, theoretically in perpetuity. For every other resource in the game, there's a semblance of guarantee and acquisition. When leveling up your character's weapons and skills by gathering the necessary materials to upgrade them, if and when you do, you're done with it, you don't have to do it again. In other words, at a certain point, if not for the ecosystem, there would be fundamentally nothing to spend your wave plates on. I'm not saying it's a healthy way to do it, but there is a reason for it to be the way that it is. On the plus end of things, min-maxing echoes in Wua is a lot more charitable in several ways. For one, again, we have the ability to farm them without spending energy, or rather farm the main stat we want. Echoes are spread all throughout the world, giving us a reason to navigate across the map in addition to completing exploration milestones like opening chests and completing quests. With enough time and patience, you can feasibly obtain hundreds of echoes in a day, and subsequently on paper, you can get all the echoes you need for a certain character. Obviously, there's still the question of being able to level them up, which for most players is when you run into a time gate. Nonetheless, that does eliminate a potential frustration from the experience. Secondly, tuning substats and echoes is a one-and-done process. You don't have to pray that you get the right substats and then pray the right substats level up. There are high and low rolls, mind you, but generally, the end goal is to simply get the stat. Doesn't matter if it's 6% crit rate or 10%. Long as you get it, that's good enough for most people. Altogether, when accounting for the quality of life additions like being able to select the main stat you want on an echo to save the hassle of farming for more of them, and even being able to reroll substats, the ecosystem in Wua is among one of the lesser RNG-infested grinds out there. You can reasonably expect to finish building a character in a shorter time in this game compared to others, in my experience at least. Having said that, one thing I'd wager all of us have begun to notice, especially now that we're more than 2 years into the game, is the inflation of echo management. To be fair, it's not endemic to just Wua. Every gacha game with a similar system experiences it with enough time. But in my opinion, the biggest problem with the echo farming experience in this game is that there's simply too many echo sets. At present, Wuthering Waves has 30 echo sets in the game, not counting the one single Edgerunner's echo. For a game that's been out for only 2 years, having this many sonatas is copious if we're putting it lightly. There's no rule of thumb for the upper limit of how many new equipment sets need to come out year over year, but 30 is a lot for only 2 years. At the very start of the game, we had 9 sets, 1 for each of the 6 attributes, 2 for supporting characters, and 1 for characters who prefer to scale off attack. For the entirety of version 1, they didn't add a single new echo set. The 9 we got so far were perfectly adequate in gearing up the characters we had. Then in 2.0, we were flooded with another batch of 5 to account for more niche purposes. Eternal Radiance to aid in the then new Spectral Facile debuff, Midnight Veil for Havoc support, and Tide Breaking for energy, to name a few. The game then proceeded to go quiet for another handful of patches until the release of Gust of Welkin and Flaming Clawprint, adding in new echoes to the upcoming Lupa and Chikona, followed by Windward Pilgrimage for Cardathia. At this point, it became abundantly clear rather than general sets made for a general roster, for example, every fusion character running Molten Rift or every Electro unit running Void Thunder, Kuro was designing echo sets to cater towards a singular character. For instance, Flaming Clawprint. Ostensibly, it looks to be a general fusion echo set, and it is to an extent. There's nothing in particular making it exclusive. Circumstantially, however, the only one who can truly make use of this set to its optimal performance at the time was Lupa, as she was the only character who you'd care to run a set like this on given the very specific prerequisite of needing a full fusion party. That notion became more substantiated following the advent of the Nightmare Purification Zones, areas where you can farm echoes all belonging to a single set in a compact fashion at no cost of energy. Dream of the Lost, Crown of Valor, Law of Harmony, Flamewing Shadow, and Thread of Severed Fate, meant for Frolova, Augusta and Iyuno, Choyo and Galbrana, and Chisa respectively. The nature of these echo sets make them so incredibly specific that, functionally speaking, only one character or two at best could even use the sets. It became an increasingly rare event for two characters or more to use the same echo set. The problem is that, for the most part, these echo sets offer measurably superior benefits to existing ones. Looking at Flamewing Shadow's 3-piece set compared to Molten Rift's full set, you're looking at 20% crit rate and 16% fusion damage compared to 30% fusion damage. 20% crit rate alone would beat out 30% fusion damage by most people's standards, let alone the 16% fusion damage added onto that. In other words, the effects provided by these character-exclusive echoes are such that they're practically mandatory to go for. In the grand scheme of things, technically yes, Galbrana can get by with the strong Molten Rift set, or Chisa can go Rejuvenating Glow in place of Thread of Severed Fate if you need to. I believe it's actually optimal in attack scaling teams, but for everyone else, it's abundantly clear you're supposed to go for the set that can only work on them. The process of adding new echo sets to the game has followed in the same fashion since then, where for every new set that comes out, only 1 or 2 units at most take that set, meaning we're getting 1 to 2 new echo sets per update, which at this point is turning into 1 per new character that comes out. Now, taking the surrounding infrastructure into context, this isn't so much an upkeep problem as it is a logistical one. It ultimately depends on personal standards. I for one aim to go for a 4 out of 5 or a 5 out of 5 on every single echo piece, unless I run into a 3 out of 5 with insane rolls like 21 crit damage and 10.5 crit rate. Expectedly, it takes a longer time for me to be satisfied with the character as opposed to someone who's okay with settling for a 3 out of 5. And besides, if you've been playing for a long time, I'd assume people have more echo experience and tuning materials than they have echoes. I could be wrong, I don't know. That's not the issue. Whether we have 5 echo sets or 50 doesn't at all affect the resource supply of a player. Even if they didn't release a new echo set and we were still using the original 9, you still have to get a fresh batch of 5 pieces, unless of course you're fine with employing loadouts. For me personally, I would much rather everyone have their own sets. However, if you're one of those people who prefer to shuffle a singular set around, that can lead to unnecessary tedium in that what's the point of there being echo loadouts when you're unable to share a set between multiple characters? Normally, echo loadouts are such that you can have a handful of characters who all interface with the same set to essentially take turns using them, particularly if the stats are effective. But if only Aimia can use Trailblazing Star, only Denia can use Chromatic Foam, only Sigrika can use Sound of True Name, there legitimately is no practical use case for echo loadouts. And even in the rare instance where 2 units can use the same echo set, more likely than not you're gonna be expected to deploy them simultaneously, such as Augusta and Iyuno or Hiyuki and Lucilla. You'll need 2 sets regardless. Forcing every character to have a unique echo set isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does create an element of tedium in that you can't pre-farm certain characters depending on release order, nor is there a beneficial reason to keep out echoes that came out really good, but for a different unit. With the way they designed Wu's ecosystem, you have no reason to carry off pieces. You're expected to run a full set or a half and half set. It would be one thing if, for example, instead of a 2 and 5 piece set effect, you had a 2 and 4, letting you take a random 5 for 5 Moonlit Clouds echo and using that for the sheer stats it offers. But this game wasn't designed that way, and let me be clear, it's not obligated to be. That being said, a growing issue I find with the profuse number of echo sets in the game is that managing them becomes incredibly tiresome. In defense of Kuro, once again, they have been taking measures to alleviate that for us. My favorite one's the auto discard, where they automatically mark echoes with incompatible main stats to be cast out. And when all is said and done, they do have a user-friendly sorting system to let you filter out for echoes that you no longer care for. Also, I believe most people operate on a need-to-have basis, wherein even if they have a bunch of 3-cost electro damage echoes on Void Thunder, there's no point in keeping them around. You can get more electro echoes when you need them.
I can explain.
There's kind of a dilemma with that though. Due to the ability to modify the main stat of an echo, it effectively makes even junk echoes undiscardable to an extent. You might look at a 3-cost arrow damage echo from the Gilded Revelation set as something to toss out, but if you have a modifier, that arrow damage can become spectre damage, leaving you with the choice. Do you keep that echo in the off chance you need it for later via conversion, or do you discard it? I guess it depends on whether or not you enjoy farming echoes around the world. Taking everything into account though, the biggest problem with the ecosystem right now in my opinion is that it's just too cluttered. There are too many ecosets to manage, and even though managing them is manageable, for lack of a better word, it doesn't change the fact that you still have to navigate over 30 ecosets and meticulously sort out which ones you don't need and which ones you do. This will only continue to exacerbate with every new set that comes out. We started at like 1000 echos I believe, now we're up to a capacity of 3000. What will happen if we're in version 4, version 5, and the number of ecosets goes up to 50? The micromanagement will be overwhelming, and I can only imagine how intimidating it can be for a new player to look at all this stuff and get easily confused. In a way, Kuro is focusing on medicating the problem, not addressing the problem itself. I get that they're trying to combine incentives together for the player. For example, if you pull for a new character, you now have a vested interest in exploring the new map and farming for echoes to gear up that character, which in turn gives you a reason to check out all the quests and chests and everything in between. But to me anyway, I do think it's a bit excessive for every echo set to cater towards only 1 or 2 units at most, as it also hamstrings build diversity. By allowing for a single echo set to apply to multiple units, it opens up the opportunity for players to experiment with different builds based on what they have. Let's say you have set A and set B. Set A is the optimal choice on a character, while set B is only about 95% as effective. If the substats on set B are really good, you can make up for that deficit. Or say you're playing a more extended attack rotation, then set B can actually be more beneficial due to the set effect. Currently though, these unique sets are so much better than any other option for the majority of characters that you're pigeonholed into going them. I get that it comes down to a matter of personal perspective. For some of you, all the points I presented don't diminish a player experience, while to others, I might even be downplaying how annoying it is. But that's ultimately why it's a discussion video. I want to hear your guys' opinions. From my perspective, the game has to slow down the rate of new set productions by up to as much as half. Like instead of 1 set per new unit or 2, it should be 1 set per 2 to 3. In return, make the echo sets go back to what we had before, general increases to those types of characters. I actually like what they did with the Midnight Veil set. It's a Havoc set just like Havoc Eclipse, but while one is predicated on main DPS, the other is predicated on support. Alternatively, they could go the Wishes of Quiet Snowfall approach. The set effect inherently accounts for both the main attacker and a support buff, allowing for Hiyuki and Lucilla to both equip these echoes. The best examples, of course, would be Moonlit Clouds and Rejuvenating Glow, the most agnostic echo sets in the game, providing general buffing utility for the entire party. There is a possibility that by homogenizing the ecosystem into more general echoes, you can have the inverse effect happen, where the farming experience becomes monotonous and every guide will start to sound the same. There are pros and cons to both sides. Hyper-specifying every echo set leads to clutter, while oversimplification leads to one-dimensionality. In the end though, I would like to see Kuro slow down a bit, maybe go for an even mixture of both. With the new characters that were teased to us in the second half of version 3, maybe releasing a DPS-centric set, a buffing-centric set, and a healing-centric set would be a good middle ground. I don't know how many of them are attackers or healers or secondaries, but if we were to assume an even spread, that can be much better than 6 new echo sets you need to farm, and worse than the clutter even more. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this. I'm prepared to be told I'm making mountains out of molehills, but it has been gnawing at me for a while. Organizing and managing echoes takes a long time, especially if you put it off for a while. To that end, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter @Varser and join my Discord server, and check out my other discussion content if you haven't yet. But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.
Be reduced.